Hello, good morning. I hope that you're all well and that you've had a good week. We had the most fabulous time ever when we were away, but it is so nice to come home. We missed the boys while we were away, but they were well looked after, and when we got home they were so tired. The twins had been staying with their mum in the house, and Gemma, my friend, said that if the twins moved, the dogs moved, and the twins are very sort of active 12-year-olds, coming up 13 actually, so they're on the go all the time. So I think the dogs were so pleased to see us. They slept all evening, all night, and they were still shattered the next day, and there was a lot of deep snoring that was going on. Anyway, I'm digressing from needlework. I had a question about my floss tubes, and it was, how do I decide what I'm going to talk about? Well, if we have a new release, I will talk about that. I tend to talk about my current project and any finishes, but everything else that goes around it is really off the cuff. It's very rare that I plan to talk about anything in particular. I look upon these talks on a Sunday morning as my time with you, a Sunday morning chat. I would have a cup of coffee if I wasn't afraid of spilling it on something. And it's just a chat between needlework friends. That's how I look upon it. And it's just, what's topical and what's in my head and in my heart at that time. I have not put in one stitch since my last floss tube from home, which was a week yesterday. We were away for a big chunk of it, and it wasn't the sort of trip where I could stitch. It was a packed itinerary, and it wasn't just Ray and I. This was we had been invited as guests on sort of like an organised couple of days. And before I move off that point, when we were in Edinburgh, I met a very, very interesting lady, and she was one of the founding members of SmartWorks. And it's a charity that was set up to help women, to give women their confidence when they are out of work and they're looking for a position. And basically they provide women with tutoring for interview techniques, and they provide the women with a outfit that is suitable to wear for their interview. Now, I'm not a feminist, but I do believe in empowering people, giving people their confidence. When I was younger, I suffered from a lack of confidence, and it took a lot to build up confidence. If you'd spoken to me like sort of 20 years ago, I would never have said that I would be doing something like this, or standing up in front of a room and speaking. Anyway, this lady was so interesting, and it was fascinating to hear the story about how the idea of this charity came about and how it's grown. And they're going to be opening another branch in the southwest of the country, and I volunteered to be a mentor to help women sort of learn about interview techniques and running some dummy interviews. So I'm very much looking forward to doing some volunteer work for that charity. Okay, so we went to London, we went to Scotland and back to London. So I thought it would be great fun to look at samplers from London and Scotland. So this idea only came into my head this morning as I was in the shower. It was a shower moment. So our trip started in London, and The sampler that we had stitched in London, in Chelsea, at the Convent of Mercy, was stitched by Emily Wildhack. I think that's how you pronounce it. Now, this may not look like an E to you, but that is the E in this type of alphabet. Emily comes with a very, very interesting backstory, which is in her booklet or her PDF, whichever you prefer. We were very, very lucky to have a letter from the convent confirming some background information about Emily. That's such a pretty sampler. And I think as well that it's a very Christmassy sampler. There's something about the colours and the dividing bands that sort of gives me a flavour of Christmas. And of course we have Christmas in July coming up very, very well. It is July, isn't it? Don't know where June went. It went in a flash. So that's a sampler from London. It's available on our website as a booklet and as a PDF, and it's available from needlework stores around the world. So we went to Edinburgh, and while I was in Edinburgh, I released this little red sampler that was stitched in Edinburgh by Mary Cornwall. I love the fact that her surname was Cornwall, where I live, and she stitched it in Edinburgh, which is where I was visiting. It was stitched in 1827, so it's an old sampler, and this sampler is one that if you would like to try some different stitches, it has got some interesting stitches in the sampler. Now if I get Mary's book, and I will show you what they are. So you've got your cross stitch over 2 and her name is over 1. Then you have Algerian eyelets over 4 threads, and then you have alternating back stitch. And I love working this stitch. This is such a fun one to work, and it works up so quickly. And basically it's 3 cross stitches, 3 parallel back stitches. That stitch path is so easy. If you want to have a look at it, on the Hats website, each sampler's web page has a stitch guide with diagrams of the stitches from that sampler, so you can look before you buy. If you're a little bit apprehensive about stitches, go on the website, explore the samplers, just have a scrap of linen, try the stitches out. It's when we step outside our comfort zone we grow. We empower ourselves as needleworkers. The other stitch is 4-sided stitch, and then we've got back stitch. Sorry, I had a blank moment then. Mary is available in this booklet form and as a PDF, and from needlework stores around the world you can get the booklet. You can never say no to a red sampler. I can't. I'm very busy building a whole room of red samplers. The room has 3 supersized walls that I can fill. So I'm going to have, I imagine by the time I've finished, I think I could get 100 red samplers hung in that room, and it's going to have great wow impact. So you're going to be seeing a lot of red samplers from us. Okay, so thinking of the theme Christmas in July, this one from Amelia Jane Chandler is a super Scottish sampler. Very, very pretty and very, very Christmassy. This was one that was produced in COVID, so it is only available as a PDF download. But it's so pretty. So pretty. The other red and green sampler from Scotland is Agnes' Husband. And there's loads of family history on this girl. Again, this was a COVID reproduction, so it's only available as a PDF, but a great fun sampler to stitch. We have one more from Scotland because this is a favourite of mine. I love this sampler so much. It's Jessie Watson. Isn't that a pretty sampler? This was stitched by Jaylee Helping, and Jaylee is a very dear friend. Jaylee had a really severe stroke several years ago, and she now stitches just using one hand, and it's just amazing the standard of her needlework. I love with Jessie how the house is not solidly stitched. You've got the gaps in between. I think that's very effective. And again, on the roof there's a different pattern, but very pretty. Okay, so those are our samplers from Scotland. Ray and I, we very much hope to go back to Scotland. Ray was just blown away by the beauty of the countryside, and I think as well by the golf courses. We stayed at Gleneagles, and there wasn't time for Ray to play a round of golf, so the professional there took him around the King, the Queen, and I think it's the Monarch. I can't remember what the third one was called, but it's the one that has the big competitions on, and Ray is just desperate to go and play golf there, so I think we will go back there very soon. Now, I did post photographs on social media, but I'm very conscious that not everybody who watches my Flosstubes is actually on social media, so I'm just going to fill you in a little bit about what we did. We went up to London, had a lovely night in London, a super meal, flew to Edinburgh the next day, and for those ladies who are coming to the Great British Sampler Weekend that are flying into London and then flying up to Edinburgh straight away before the weekend, that flight, the BA flight up to Edinburgh, it's only 50 minutes. You know, no sooner you're up, you're landing. It was very quick. We arrived and we were whisked away to Gleneagles, and we had a lovely sort of champagne reception when we got there. And then the evening started with a whiskey tasting. Now, whiskey is not for me at all, but the talk on the different types of whiskey and how whiskey was made and how all the different flavours are obtained was so interesting. So I did sort of like just wet my tongue with each of the whiskies we were tasting, but not suitable for my taste buds. But it was a wonderful evening, and we were sat outside in a covered area around this beautiful fire pit, having these whiskies. When that was over, we were whisked away to a hunting lodge, and the lodge was so pretty, and you know, the setting amongst all this beautiful trees, it was just wonderful. And we had a superb meal. Ray was over the moon because his dinner companion was Christy Walk, who is such an interesting person. Ray is very much, you know, he's an avid newspaper reader and news watcher, so they had a lot to talk about. The interesting thing was, Kirsty Walk, she's very talented in lots of different fields, but it turns out that she's a quilter and a needleworker. So, you know, I had some great conversations with her about that as well. The next day, we were meant to be having a Highland picnic. The weather was awful. So they actually brought the picnic indoors. There was a gun dog display. Now, obviously they couldn't work the gun dogs inside, so we watched that through these big windows. It was wonderful to see the labs working, but they actually bought the birds of prey into the room in the hotel that they were using for our Highland picnic, and I got to hold the, I think it might have been a kestrel, but the amazing thing was that they had a golden eagle, and I cannot believe that I got this close to a golden eagle, let alone inside a hotel. This bird was reared from an egg. You know, it wasn't a rescue one. It was incubated and reared in captivity. It was 7 years old, and it was very, very interesting to hear about how these birds are trained, how they live. This golden eagle had just come back from his holidays, and they have like a month off where they're fed a very rich diet which causes them to molt and regrow their feathers. And this bird's feathers, the sheen on them were just, it was just amazing. His feathers, it was just like a mirror. It was amazing how long they live. The female bird lives a lot longer than the male, and they are much bigger than the male, and they mate for life. And there were so many interesting facts about it. Then we went off to Edinburgh, and that was very, very interesting. And we got to meet some really fascinating people. And then we were taken to Barngoogle Castle, and when they were taking us there, it's on the banks of the Forth, and when they were taking us there, we came off the road onto a track, and then this track went into, well, it was like you were going through, you know, you were going somewhere that nobody had ever been before, and then all of a sudden, out of the trees you came, and there was this beautiful Scottish castle, and there was great big, not sure what you call them, torches, you know, and there was, you know, flames coming up, lighting the entrance, even though it was still daylight at that time. And there was a piper there. And then we had the most amazing meal in this sort of banquet hall. So special. And then the next day, we flew back to London and had another night in London. So that was my trip to Scotland. Okay, samplers. I've had some new acquisitions come. This one, it's a little red sampler, and what really caught my eye on this one was the fact that it was stitched in Pretoria in Africa, in South Africa. I just thought that was really, really special. So that will go with the samplers I have, the red samplers from other countries. That will be a travel project at some time. It was stitched in 1900 by Maggie Burridge in Abington National School, Girls' School in Pretoria. Love that. The other little sampler that came was this blue and red sampler stitched by Eva May Jewell at St James's School, Bristol in 1890. I love anything from sort of like the Avon, Somerset area. Bristol is in Avon because that's where my father's family came from, or one, the maternal line of his family came from. So those sort of samplers are very dear to me. I think that's going to be a fun travel project as well. Then this big, oops, this big sampler came, which is Rosa Gromit, and I found Rosa in Family History Records. I just thought that was such a pretty sampler. Really very, very pretty. At first glance, it looks to be all cross stitch over two with just a little bit of satin stitching to create a sort of border. Now this area is solidly stitched, and I think that some people may not stitch that background, but you know, I love stitching solid areas. It's a time where you can switch off from the world and just stitch away. Great therapy. The border on this one is very rich. I'm not sure if the colours are showing up too well in this light. It's a grey day today. Hopefully it'll get better as the day goes on. Very pretty. Looking forward to reproducing that one. Okay. A little bit of news. I have started to collect these pin cushions. Now they're stitched by a very gifted lady called Ginny, and Ginny has an Etsy store, and I'm just going to give you the exact name of the Etsy store. I always find it so difficult to find Etsy stores when I'm looking. In Etsy, her store is called Ginny, Jinny, hand embroidery, or one word. Ginny has some more pin cushions in stock, and they're beautiful, really, really gorgeous. There's not many, so if you're interested, you will need to act quickly. There is one there. Oh, it is just so, so beautiful. It's a square one, which is something I'd love to add to my collection. I'm trying to be good though, because I know that a lot of people have wanted these and they haven't been able to get them, and I've got a few, so I'm just giving you all a chance. If the square one is left by Monday, I'm buying it. Definitely. I'm showing great control there. Enjoy looking at Ginny's website. The pin cushions are amazing, but she has actually got other products as well. Okay. I just wanted to mention Alice Park. Thank you to everybody who has bought Alice. She's been a big hit, and somebody actually sent me a photograph of their finish of Alice. Now they're very shy, they didn't want their work published on social media, and I will always respect that, but it was such a joy for me to see a finish of this beautiful sampler. Very sweet. Also, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who is or has written to me about Oscar and about how lovely it is to have a sampler stitched by a boy. It really, really is. And again, this little sampler, because of its Christmas and New Year's message, it's a great one to be stitching this month. This is such a quick stitch. You could do several versions of this to give away as Christmas gifts. You really, really could. Beautiful. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all. When this you see, remember me when I am far away from thee. To mother and father, love, Oscar. If you didn't want to stitch the whole sampler as a gift, you could stitch the little pin cushions that come with it. There we are. Great fun, an easy, straightforward project to do. As I said, I've got no stitching to show you. Since I've been home, I have been focusing on two things. The Great British Sampler Weekend, because that's getting very close now, and we are ready, but I want it to be perfect. So I keep on going back through everything, just making sure that everything is just perfect for those people who are attending. And the other thing that I'm focusing on is the workshop that I am giving at Hobby House Needleworks at the beginning of November. I am very, very busy writing scripts and editing scripts, ready to record my videos, my tuition videos. If you ever come to a workshop where I'm teaching, I do everything by video, so that you can see it on a big screen in the classroom, but also you will have access to those videos in your own home for a period after the workshop. I think that's terribly important. Quite often when I go to a workshop, I forget what I have been learning. I need, when I get home, I need something to remind me. And this is why I think doing videos so that I go home with you in those videos is a great idea. At that workshop, got a little surprise project for you, which has been great fun working on, and just planning a few little goodies for everybody who's attending as well. I love all of that. I love planning things, planning surprises, little treats. I get so much pleasure out of seeing people's faces when they have something that's a surprise. I get surprises in the mail practically every week as these cards coming in from the red boxes from Europe, and I just want to thank everybody. It is such fun going out into the porch and seeing mail, and there's, you know, I can see it's a card, and it's been interesting, all the different stamps from the different countries. And if I happen to see my postman when he's coming, he goes, "There's another one." He's excited as well to see where these cards are coming from. So let's have a read of this one. Dear Nicola, a little stitching for you from me in honour and in celebration of your birthday. I've been stitching a long time, for several years. I focus on smalls and now I gravitate towards samplers, especially yours. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your birthday through the very special red box. I enjoyed hearing about the significance of all the elements in the box, and I think about it while experiencing the joy of the samplers and accessories. Best wishes for your birthday all year long. So kind, thank you. Another card, and the clue for where this comes from is in the picture. Happy 60th birthday, Nicola, and thank you for so generously sharing it with us. A birthday shared is always much more fun. You asked us to share a bit of ourselves with you, so I selected a card with a photo of the place where I live, San Diego, California. For a time, I lived in the high-rise pictured on the right side of the photograph, third from left. While I enjoyed city living, I am now happily ensconced in a house in the country with my 2 cats and 2 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. Those are super dogs. And Bertie and Hugo say hello. They're both lying down here. You might hear them snoring. While working takes up far too much of my time, I work at a company that makes, and I won't say what it is because I'm trying not for people to be identified in these letters. We actually, hence stitching is such an escape for me. There's something like meditation in stitching. It forces my mind to focus and count on my project and takes me away from the stresses of owning a business. It's essential to my well-being. That's why I enjoyed cross stitch so much when I was working. It's what started me off. And hats charts have been an enormous part of this. I thank you for the enormous effort you put into producing the best charts and gorgeous samplers for us to stitch. Thank you. Any hats charts are reliable in their excellent quality. That means a lot, that really does. I know I don't always get things right, but it's not from the lack of trying. I hope your 60th year brings you as much joy as it has for us stitchers reproducing your samplers. As somebody who is several years past 60, the best is yet to come. Now, I know this lady and I've spent time with her this year, and I tell you what, you would not think she was anywhere close to 60, yet past 60. Amazing, beautiful woman. Right, Nicola, and I see many more exciting adventures in your future, and that time off during COVID gifted us with a renewed appreciation for life experiences and good friends. That's so true. Can't wait to see what the future brings for you. And hands across the sea samplers with much love. Thank you. The last card is Mary Ann Bourne's, and I thought, let's have a look at Mary Ann Bourne's. Now, for a long time, Mary Ann didn't hang in my house. She was at the Attic Needleworks where I was so honoured that Jean had her displayed. But was it last year I brought her home, and it's lovely to have her hanging in my home because this is where it all began. This sampler was our first release. Oh gosh, it's such a dark, dismal day. And this is such a beautiful golden sampler in real life. I just don't think those colours are showing well. Mary Ann was not the first sampler that I actually reproduced, but it was the first one where the model was finished and released. So she is the one that we consider to be the foundation stone of our portfolio of work. Mary Ann has continued to be a very, very popular design for us. Now, this is her booklet, and it doesn't really look like a hat's booklet. We were experimenting, and this was our first effort. And I look back now and I thought, oh my God, we've come a long way. But I am not changing the design of this cover, even though it doesn't really tie in with our formula now of featuring a girl on the front of a booklet. They are very, very different now. But I want this sampler to always represent where hats started from. And it's just the same as my very, very early needlework. I hang that with pride in my house. Like it may well have been on a low count fabric. It could have been, a simplistic design, but I'm just as proud of that as, a complex reversible band sampler that I've stitched. It's really good to see your journey, where you began, the places that you've gone on the way, and your current location. Even though this doesn't really represent the artwork and style of the hats charts, we won't change it because this is where it all began for us. Okay, so let's read this card. Dear Nicola, thank you for such a gorgeous curated letters from Europe box. It's so special to me and I can't wait to start my journey. I chose this card because I remember when you released your first booklet. I called the attic and had it all kitted up and was thinking, hats is going to do wonderful things, and oh my stars, you sure have. I've been stitching for about 40 years and this passion stroke obsession is as strong today as it was all those years ago. I've stitched so many different things and my tastes have changed over the years, but I think samplers have changed me. I love hearing about the little girls that stitched them so long ago. I feel a connection with them today. Rosa Sugars always comes to mind since she was the only 4-year-old as she was only 4 years old when she stitched her sampler. What I wouldn't do to talk to her today. Thank you for all you've done for our community. You're so kind, Jen. We'll read that little bit. With much love. Thank you. The one thing, and I probably say this too often, when I read these cards, it makes me realise how much needlework means to us all, and it means the same to each of us. And a lot of us share the same journey through life. It's ups and downs. Needlework soothes our soul, brings us comfort at times of need, fills our heart with joy, and empties our pocketbooks but fills our walls. Why not? Why not enjoy life? We're only here once. Okay, that wraps it up for today, really. Let's have a look. Oh, we've done about 30 minutes. That went very quickly. The week ahead, I'm going to continue working on getting all the workshop together and refining it for Hobby House Needleworks. And on Wednesday, Sue and I are meeting Michelle. Michelle's coming over from France. She's bringing lots of linen for the Great British Sampling Weekend. There's going to be a lot of linen in the boutique. So for those people coming, you've got a wonderful shopping experience with regards to linen. It's so nice to be able to see linen in person, to touch it, to feel it, and there's going to be quite a bit there for you, so make sure you leave lots of room in your suitcase. Okay, right, I better go and walk those little doggies. They've been patiently waiting. Until next week, stay well, stay safe. Bye-bye.